Hello, welcome to Eat Sleep Code, the official Telerik podcast. I'm your host, Ed Charbeneau, and with me is my co-host, John Bristowe. John, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's time for another news show. We've had a little break here and there. Had some in-person conferences to take care of, so
How did those go?
Be streaming, but they went well. Went really good. Yeah, enjoyed seeing some people again. When some interesting things happen, like while I'm doing stuff like that. So one of the conferences is 20 minutes from my house, so they're very close to homegrown conference. Saw some folks out there that recognized me from the show, but not from in town. And usually that show goes much differently. It's usually people that recognize me from in town, not from online. So I thought that was fun. So we've got some news to share for this week, things to chat about, drop our opinions in on. We've got got lots of tools to talk about, some JavaScripty things, some .NET things, some Visual Studio things, some CSS Grid things, lots of things.
Yes.
I'll kick this one off. I saw this while I was at the conference, and I was just going through my daily readings. CSS Tricks dropped a pretty cool article here about CSS Grid, which at the conference I was doing a talk about CSS Grid. So this was very relevant to something that I was working with. I had no idea that you could do these things in CSS Grid. I love CSS Grid. It's got a lot of properties and different methods for laying out your application in the browser. And there are people that are just far more clever than I am when you're working with these things. So the author here is showing how to create like hexagon honeycomb grids.
Yep.
Just using CSS Grid and some fancy CSS code to kind of, and it's not very much there either. You'd think something like this is going to be like a whole deal in creating an effect like this. And it's really, 50 lines of CSS, maybe just a couple selectors there.
Yeah, I mean, if it's support on the platform, it's awesome because you're targeting the GPU as well. So that's a benefit.
Mm-hmm. And it's got a nice look and feel to it, and it's using that CSS Grid to lay it out. I think that's just one example of this being awesome. And then the author, of course, breaks this down to show you exactly how it's being done. They're using ClipPath to kind of cut these shapes out and then place them in a grid, and then applying transitioning to make sure that they flow in this pattern here. Very cool. And then I was like, all right, that's neat. But then the article kept going. There's other things that you can do.
Why not?
I've actually had to make this layout before, way before the CSS Grid was available. So I actually did an app one time, and I don't know, I'm pretty sure this is an international standard. If it's not, it's got a sibling to it in every country, I'm sure.
Yep.
This system of labeling hazardous materials, like I've actually had to make this in a real world application.
Sure.
At one point. So the application I wrote actually stored these data sheets and made them easily searchable. This was like before you could run everything through AI and like pick out key terms and things. So we had to recreate this display on the screen for users. So yeah, this is like stuff I need to actually use in real world applications. I thought that was pretty cool.
Nice.
So there's all sorts of these little ways of laying things out that are mentioned in this article. And it's not going to stop there. This is labeled as part 1. So there is at least a part 2 coming. And I can't wait to see what other kind of crazy stuff that they come up with, like this puzzle pieces, pretty much anything it looks like you can use ClipPath on, or any of these vector tools that are available now in CSS can do stuff with the grid items and make them look really artistic and fancy. So yeah, give that a read over at look at this. This is too cool. Give it a read over at CSS Tricks, and we'll keep an eye out for when part 2 hits.
Nice one.
Keeping with the theme of visual things, John, what's happening
Sure.
with Textualize here?
Nothing much. We've mentioned this before. I just wanted to set this as a context for what folks are doing in sort of the command line space. So terminal UIs are becoming quite increasingly popular. And we talked a little bit about Charm, and we talked a little bit about Textualize, and we talked about a whole bunch of different frameworks. And so Textualize is a framework built in Python that allows you to build very rich terminal-like applications, and they provide a whole bunch of building blocks for building these things. These are available for, obviously, if you're wanting to do this, and command line has actually got its place. It's for the power user, for the folks who don't want to grab their mouse, don't want to touch a cursor or anything like that. They just want to drive their plumbing through a keyboard. And the nice thing about this is that you can daisy chain or pipe these into other subcommands and really come up with these really powerful scripts. So anyways, I thought I would mention this in the context of some of the things that we also have cited here. So this is one of many ways in which you can build these things. And if you're in the Python space, then this is something worth checking out. But related to this somewhat is a new library from the folks at Charm called Gum. And what Gum is really interesting. So the GitHub page isn't giving it the lip service that it deserves, but basically Charm has built up a bunch of libraries for building these things. And what they've done here is they've provided a auto-generated UI for terminals using Bubble Tea on top of scripts. So in particular, shell scripts. So when you write a shell script, you define things like inputs, and you define like lists and outputs, etc. And the problem is that the screenshots here aren't rendering very well, but there's a YouTube video available on their Twitter page. But if you're ever into shell scripts, and you would be like, oh, it'd be really nice if there was like a really nice looking UI on top of this. This is what Gum provides. Gum will take your shell scripts and provide a really slick interface on top of them so that you can use them whenever you're wanting to run them in the context of an application. And if you go to the Twitter account for the Charm folks, I believe it's like Charm Bracelet or Charm something to the effect. You'll see they've got demos listed there using may not be Charm Bracelet. No. So let's try.
I'm glad that didn't end up in a bad place.
Sorry. So if you try something like Charm, anyways, you can take a look at it. If you take a look at the folks who run the Twitter feed. Yeah, I'm not sure if this will be. Anyways, whatever. It's listed on charm.sh, which is their homepage. But they've got this new way of building this out, which is super nice. And it's called Gum, and it's brand new, and it's super cool. And I thought it was really, really nice. And there's a YouTube video you can watch. So it's listed down under more stuff. If you scroll there, that one. And it provides this really nice, slick interface on top of it. And that will just link you to the place we were before. But at the bottom, I think they have a link to their Twitter feed. And if you go there or to the YouTube channel or to something to that effect, they should have a demo there that talks a little bit about this. So if you scroll down, there's a demo where they cite a user who's built this using, that's the podcast they were on. That's a different thing as well. That's using SoftServe. That's different. But if you scroll down a little bit, they talk a little bit about Gum. They just shipped this like earlier in the beginning of the month. And yeah, there's a video with their evangelist there. Yes, this one. And this person's going to talk about it. But what this is basically doing is you take a shell script and then you run Gum on top of it, and it will provide you with this really slick interface on top. So you have to go. So you see all those like sort of select sort of controls and things like that. Basically, it's auto rendering those based on the shell script. And so the shell scripts themselves, we end up looking really, really nice later on when you use these in the context of Gum, which is super, super nice. And I really think that this is going to change the way we think of command line interfaces. So I don't have a demo here, but there's a demo listed on their Twitter feed. You can go check it out there.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a space that I don't follow. It's pretty interesting to see the way things are evolving over there. In keeping in line with the theme of like making things look good and having some plugins and tools to help us along the way. This literally just dropped like as we were starting the show, and I figured I'd throw it up here in the browser. I think this is brand new. Yeah, this is released on 8/24 at 2 o'clock today, and I think that is maybe just an hour ago for us here. So this is taking the depth of the nesting of parentheses in Visual Studio and coloring them different, so you can kind of see how what is inside of those braces. And I don't know how many times I've been kind of tripped up on something that has quite a few of these, braces inside of it. So this kind of pairs them up, and then for each nesting deep, it colors them different. So this is called Rainbow Braces for Visual Studio. This is by, of course, Mads Christensen, who creates all kinds of helpful plugins for Visual Studio. So it looks like you can actually go in your configuration to and set the colors of those braces up to 9 levels. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say if you have 9 levels of braces, it's time to refactor that code. But
Sure.
maybe you are refactoring the code, and that's why you need this plugin. So thought it was pretty cool.
I have something that I totally forgot, but I think it bears mentioning. I put it into our Trello. It's a video from our friend, or both of our friends, Burke Holland, who is part of the team of advocates at Microsoft. And he's talking about a new facility that they've added to Visual Studio Code called Sticky Scroll. And there's a video that I've linked in the Trello board that kind of highlights this. But this is something that I thought was really cool. It's available in other IDEs, but it's something that I think is going to be really helpful, and it aligns to what you were just talking about. So it's that video at the bottom there. So this is a feature that is, what Burke's talking about here is, you scroll and you have these long sort of functions, and you want to know where you are. You're deeply nested within a function. It would be really cool to have context there. And so there's this new experimental feature called Sticky Scroll, which he enables here. And you'll watch as he scrolls how it pins the class name to the top. And then as you go into a function, it pins the function underneath that. And then it tells you, oh, I'm inside of this sub function here, or this promise rather. Some folks are asking you to zoom in. I know it's hard. So
it's a video running.
It's a YouTube video, so it's challenging. Yeah. But this is a feature now that you can turn on as an experimental feature in Visual Studio Code, and somewhat akin to what you were saying with the curly braces being colorized. This is something now that is also going to help you navigate code in that same context. So as you scroll up and down, like in a JSON doc or in a JavaScript file or something, it will basically it will expand the header of the file a little bit to show you where you are in the file. So you can see how it like pins the location of your JSON location there. So you're inside this property, this et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to use zoom it. There we go. Yeah. So
this is the frozen bits. It's kind of like a frozen row on an Excel sheet or something.
Sure.
So it's picking up the nested parts of the JSON file here,
pinning them to the top. It's called Sticky
pinning
Scroll.
them to the top.
So it's something now in Visual Studio Code. Sorry, I totally forgot.
So this gives you context of where that namespace is, and then what is inside of it is down here. I think that's really helpful for JSON, and it could be helpful for making code refactoring easier. But again, if you're needing this for code that you're working on, JSON you don't have any control over, code you do. Refactor that code, please. It needs to be.
I think a lot of people made that same comment. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, coming in hot.
Welcome Eagle Hansen to chat as well. Nice to see you there, bud. All right. speaking of more tooling, we talked about language servers a few times here, John.
Sure.
You got something talking about a Markdown language server.
Sure, yeah. So language servers are so when you think about IDEs, whether it's Sublime Text, Visual Studio Codes, Visual Studio, Atom, what have you, there has been a sort of a universal agreement around how we go about processing text, and in particular, how we process languages within the context of an IDE. Language servers are the way in which we can actually get universal agreement around how do we process and understand these languages like C# or JavaScript or even Markdown. So what a language server does is it provides you with an ability to basically provide a IDE agnostic mechanism for describing here's what the text is telling me and informing the IDE of syntax highlighting, auto-completion, IntelliSense, et cetera, et cetera. So this blog post here is talking about how they've now added support for a new language server type for Markdown. And the reason why this is powerful is because language servers actually get you really nice performance because you're now offsetting or offloading that ability. It's not all tightly coupled within the IDE, but what you're doing now is you're basically pushing that responsibility over to a language server. And then what that does is it gives you, a separation of concerns from a process perspective. So you get better performance in that respect. But also a language server gives you portability. It allows you to understand these things a little bit more easily. And so this latest blog post from the Visual Studio Code team talks about how they're now shipping a new language server for Markdown.
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret that Microsoft really got serious about this language server stuff when they started maintaining more than one IDE. So they've got Visual Studio Code, and Visual Studio for Mac, which are all different engines.
Sure.
And they were implementing the same thing 3 different ways. So there's a lot of effort going on to consolidate these things into language servers now.
Yeah, it's also an agreement amongst the IDE vendors that says, basically, look, we do well when we do best for ourselves as well as for the group, meaning the other IDEs out there. It's sort of like that beautiful mind philosophy, the principles behind doing what's well for both the individual as well as for the group. And so they're talking about how this is a new language service that's available. It's based on a TypeScript library, et cetera, et cetera. Language services are actually just based on a spec. They have a spec that you can check out to do this. So you can implement your own if you want. Very, 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 very nice from that perspective.
Chat says, dry the IDEs.
Yes.
Engineering Festivus for the rest of us. What, besides an obvious Seinfeld reference, what do we have here, John?
So this has actually been making the rounds quite a bit. There's this guy, his name's Dennis, and he's the head of ecosystem at Netlify, and he's actually put together. If you take a look at the Kubernetes one, it's actually a great example. So he's using these sort of clips of Seinfeld, and he's subtitling them with basically DevOps sort of things, and they're hilarious, and they've been making their rounds because they're fantastic. So this one talks about how Kramer's going to go to Kubernetes, and he's like, totally massively distributed. I need global scale, sort of thing. And so it's absolutely spectacular. It's fantastic. I love it. And Dan, it's like he's awesome. He's done this great job of. It's hilarious. Like he does like code reviews and databases, and like this one's great. He talks about how you get hilarious. A number and you get a bool, and you add them together, you get a taco emoji. So he's like, look at them, and then if you add them together, he's like, well, mine's clearly a number. What's the big deal with this? And he's like, well, you add them together and watch the magic happen. And he's like, surely it's 2022. You can add 2 numbers without becoming a bool. And he's like, yeah, tell that to the SRE who had a problem last night. You added them together, got a taco emoji.
So, these are so well done. Like,
oh yeah, it's fantastic. So Festivus.dev.
I caught this one a couple weeks ago. I didn't realize they're part of a series.
Yeah. So what's great about this is at the end of this, he says like, "Are you telling me JavaScript's running in my car?" And then Kramer's like, "I work with Tesla."
Right.
And then Jerry's like, "You should. It's probably time for you to sell your car."
And if you've ever watched the show, if you haven't, like the schemes are like part of the show. Like there's always a scheme with these guys. They're always doing something, like the infamous like bottle return episode where they're going to take, one state offers a return, 10-cent return on used cans and bottles. So they're going to take all the bottles that they find and rent a truck, and he's got everything worked out on on how much they're going to actually net off of this crazy trip. So yeah, these are perfect, man. Like I wonder how long it takes him to create something like this, because they're well thought out.
He just does it in his spare time, but we got quite a laugh in the various circles that I'm in. So yeah.
Speaking of JavaScript,
nice.
Maybe you need more JavaScript, just a different kind of JavaScript. I don't think we've talked about Bun before on the show. No. So Bun SH, something that crossed my feed this week, I thought was kind of interesting. This is like an alternative to Node. So
and Deno and various other runtimes, yes.
Yeah. Word on the street is that Node is kind of slow. Okay. So what are we going to do but make it faster? So there's another system out there called Bun. It is still not in full release. This is a kind of a beta, I think, still. But one thing that I noticed that's kind of unique about it is it's doing the bundling, transpiling, and all of that stuff inside the system as well. So you don't have to have like Webpack or all of those other external things. It just understands kind of natively some things like JSX and TypeScript. And it supports like the usual like configurations for those things, but it's just taking off some of the responsibility from you and helping me abstract away those things a little bit. And it's supposed to be really fast. You can see over here on the requests per second side of things. It's kind of blowing Node and Deno out of the water.
Well, it's built using Zig, which is a very low level sort of programming language, and very C and C++ like. A lot of these frameworks are now moving to utilizing Rust for the subsystems, etc. So Go as well. So things are getting much faster for sure.
And the grass is not always greener. This again, it's a beta. So like if you're running on Windows, you need the Windows subsystem for Linux for compatibility. You can't just like get that and run it straight up in your command line. You need to actually get the subsystem for Linux going, which isn't hard. It's just, it's not going to, that may cause problems with other things, other build systems and things you may be using. If you're not on a Linux machine already or familiar with Linux, that might be a little bit of a roadblock for you. And there's been some articles out there on this as well. So I was kind of brushing up on the subject. So like this article on Make Use Of is pretty spot on about why it was made and what are the benefits and what are some of the gotchas that you might run into using it. So it's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, so the company that built it, their name is Oven. So and you'll find them at oven.sh.
So they have a bun in the oven. That's great.
Yep. So
David Fowler is dropping some knowledge on .NET 7. What's going on here, John?
Yeah, so David is a member of the team at Microsoft. He's working, obviously, he's an architect on the .NET team, and he's talking about how in .NET 7, basically, we're moving away from the native thread pool and into a managed thread pool. And this is a good thing because obviously managed code gives us the different characteristics, different heuristics, different benefits, obviously different maybe disadvantages, etc., etc. But this has been a long-standing request, basically because when you do a native implementation for something like a thread pool, you're relying upon the subsystems of something like Windows, for example, to do this thing. And so utilizing thread pools becomes sometimes, without the native implementations, becomes a non-starter. Especially if you're going to platforms that don't have those underlying subsystem hooks. So by going to a fully managed thread pool, we get the benefit of basically running the thread pool wherever .NET runs. And so that's the benefit.
More interesting tweets. This is a little less serious, but I thought it was fun. Oh, that's the Mad Christensen tweet. I've got the wrong one here. In case I didn't share that in chat earlier, I can drop that for folks. And then I'm going to go find the tweet that I meant to pull up. I'll drop that in chat. Give me 1 second to find the thing I want to share. It's very easy to find for me. Hang on. All right. So a friend of mine on Twitter has been trying to start a trend here. Good old Khalid is trying to get folks to stop using the .NET annotation with the actual like period net, like .NET.
Oh,
and go
right.
with just
.NET.
Yeah. Well, not drop the, but the
no, you know what I mean. You know, it's the Facebook. It's
drop the symbol,
social network.
The dot symbol.
It's the reference to the Social Network in the movie where, what's his name's character says, he goes, drop the just Facebook. It's cleaner, you know, sort of thing. Yeah.
So he's been going on about this for like, I want to say a good solid week, if not 2 weeks. And he's got all these memes he just keeps dropping, and they're pretty funny. And I think there's a pretty good point to all of this. Like it's easier to search like the word dot than it is to search like .NET and like things like Twitter. If you put in like .NET in some contexts, it will actually like pull a link, like ASP.NET will pull up a link to the ASP.NET website because it sees the words as a link, as a URL. So there's a lot of reasons that this actually makes sense. Not to mention the command line is the word .NET.
It's just one of those things. It's been around forever. The marketing, the brand, etc. They're too far gone. There's no way this will happen. I don't think. I mean,
I don't think so either. But it's been fun watching his hashtag. Sure. Some people are catching on. Like this is Brendan Endrick from Dev Chatter. He's got the old meme here.
I don't like the way .NET phonetically is spelt. I don't like that. It rubs me the wrong way. I don't. It took me so long to accept .NET. I understand his motivations, which is it doesn't work well with search engines. It's difficult understanding what it is, etc., etc. Yes.
So I mean, if you don't like either one of these, John, you can always come up with your own standard.
Sure.
Because that's how things get done productively.
Sure. Yes.
Anyway, like the memes are getting good here. They're just fun to watch. So that's hashtag drop the .NET on Twitter. Whatever. If you want to follow that one, I won't share a link directly to it. You can find it on your own.
All right.
More .NET stuff.
Yes.
.NET versus .NET. .NET 6 is now in Ubuntu 22.04.
Yeah, this is actually pretty important for a variety of reasons. Most notably is that Ubuntu 2022 is the default runner for Ubuntu latest in GitHub Actions, which is the sort of canonical runner that people use when running GitHub Actions. So .NET 6, the fact that it's now available in Ubuntu 2022, 2022.04 is kind of a big deal. In addition to that, Richard Lander goes into kind of like, all the work that's gone into that, et cetera, et cetera. So it's quite a detailed blog post talking about the whole sort of motivations and what we did to make it work, and et cetera, et cetera. So I think that in essence, it's a good thing, because obviously, encouraging the adoption in really robust containers, like and runtimes, for example, is a good thing for .NET as a whole. It lends itself well to folks who are using GitHub Actions. It's there's a variety of other reasons as well. Like Ubuntu tends to be the default container image for Docker. So there's lots and lots of reasons why this is actually a good thing.
And this is just my pure speculation. Don't take this as any kind of like privy information, but this could possibly help Maui get launched on Linux. So right now, Maui is not supported on Linux. I don't know the reason why, actually. I probably should just ask somebody that's working on it and find out. I know they're interested in targeting it, but maybe this is one of the roadblocks that helps them ease that situation. So it's nice to see it natively included right there on the platform.
Yeah, it's something that Richard actually, I just did a search. He does actually point that out. He said that SDK workloads are not available in packages. Also, the .NET Maui workloads are not supported on Linux. So, yeah.
Yeah, maybe this is just one brick helping pave the way for it.
That's right.
Anyways,
so, good thing.
On to some less serious things, John. Your favorite topic, I know. The Metaverse. We're not calling it VR anymore. We're not calling it mixed reality anymore, John. It's not AR. It's not VR. It's stuck. The Metaverse is stuck. For God's sakes, why? Why? So, Microsoft used to be really hard on this mixed reality term. They tried to coin like this is like the go-to term, and it looks like Facebook has beat them to the punch after the fact.
Facebook's gone in. Yeah, Facebook is going in really hard on this.
So it looks like that changed from Facebook going to Meta to kind of signal this metaverse, the coming of, has changed the view of Microsoft and how they're presenting the HoloLens. This is a pretty big deal, unfortunately. I don't like this metaverse nomenclature.
The whole reason for this is,
so marketing.
The whole reason, to understand the basis of like why are we doing this? Well, Facebook's facing a challenge, right? Like Apple has restricted a lot of privacy, or restricted a lot of its platform through privacy, with all these privacy controls that have gone in, which is which affects Facebook and others who utilize ad-based revenue, for example. So by creating, this is me totally speculating, but by creating a net new platform that you can control from the start, that provides a new revenue model basically for something like ads, for example. So by creating this metaverse and saying, hey, everyone, come over here, because it's uncharted territory to a large extent, like not to a degree that Facebook is actually predicting. I really don't think this is going to take off. I don't think people are going to walk around with headsets on their face and think that this is better than the reality. Now that's not a controversial statement. I think most people would feel that way, but I think that it's got to be so compelling that you're going to go out and buy this how many hundreds of dollars device, slap it on your face, and be like, yes, this is the future. I don't think so. So, yeah.
So I think
I know I'm cynical. I'm cynical, but I think Microsoft should stay out of this if it was up to me.
I think we're getting into the digital transformation territory with this word, and you ask 10 different people what digital transformation is, and you're going to get 10 different answers, and they're all going to be contrived marketing mumbo jumbo. I feel like this is heading in that same direction, but it seems to have snuck its way into the vision statements at Microsoft now. And it has, somebody's gone back and looked at the HoloLens kind of like marketing terminology, and they've gone back through and they've axed the mixed reality bits out and replaced it with Metaverse. So it's this virus is contagious, and it's starting to creep in everywhere.
Yeah, I'm okay. I realize I sound like an old man. I could be completely wrong. I could be. I'm happy. I'm happy for folks years from now when everyone's walking around with these things on their face. I'm happy to be the person who's like, yeah, I totally called that wrong. I don't think this is going to land. I don't think this is going to be a thing that people are going to want to use at the level that, like, I think Meta's trying to position this in the same way as you're going to use this as much as your iPhone. I'm like, no. Like, there's no way you're going to, unless it's like the technology has got to be like orders of magnitude better than it is today. And it's like, we're not anywhere near that right now, you know? So I don't know. I mean, I look
just
at this
from
and
a
I just shrug
marketing
my shoulders.
perspective, like it's getting too ubiquitous to, it's like blockchain for everything and cryptocurrency, and you know, it starts to lose its value when we start diluting all the things that we're trying to apply it to. And there's an excellent TV show that I used to watch back in the day called Better Off Ted. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it's basically satire about like corporate level dealings at companies. And there's, you know, these two corporate folks that are trying to save their bacon, and they do this presentation on a product that like doesn't exist. It's called Jabberwocky. So if you search on YouTube, Better Off Ted Jabberwocky, there's this video that's absolutely hysterical from the show where like these two CEOs are trying to pitch a product that literally does not exist, and it's just all marketing buzzwords from start to finish. And then at the very end of it, you see like all the, you know, the CEO style, like people at this conference with their stuffy suits on leaving. And the one guy looks at the other, he goes, so you know what Jabberwocky is, don't you? And the other guy's like, of course I do. And he's like, oh, sorry, I was just asking you to make sure you understood. It's like, nobody knows what this stuff is. It's not going anywhere. We're not selling any of it, but the hype is unreal, right?
Yeah. I don't even know if there's hype, to be honest. I think that
John's not hyped.
Seriously, like hype implies that a lot of people are getting behind this thing. I don't see it. What I see is I see a lot of people tied to iPhones. I see a lot of people. The metaverse is social media in the form of things like TikTok, etc. That's the metaverse. But if you're asking people to do this, where they're slap this device on their face and they're going around like, oh yeah, this is it, this is the future, I don't think so. But I don't know. I mean, again, I know I sound like an old man. I apologize. I've done this before. But at the same time, I can't help myself to feel like I think Meta is going in this direction intentionally, and that's fine. They're totally within their right to do so, for example. But I just don't know if it's going to be to the level and extent that they think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be that popular, but I could be wrong. That's just my gut telling me this.
I shared the Jabberwocky presentation in chat. I'm reluctant to play it on the show because I don't know what kind of copyright things might happen if I actually play that in its entirety here, but it is absolutely hilarious. If you've ever seen any like presentation at the sea level, like this is just like the poster child for it. So
here's the last thing I'll say about this. Here's the last thing I'll say about this. Like it's I'm not saying what Meta is doing is not the future. There may be a future at some point where we actually do have really nice experiences in VR, etc., AR, and we do today to a certain extent. My point is, though, that you can't. It's too big of a leap. Like there's too big of a chasm between where we are right now and where Meta is positioning this stuff, and I think that it's too big of a step for folks to take. If you take a look at where we've gone historically with these sort of evolutions, people look at the internet, for example. They're like, that was like a quantum, that was like an overnight success. I'm like, no, it very wasn't. The internet took years and years and fighting and crappy specifications and developers screaming at their screens saying, why doesn't this render properly? And dial-up modems and just like push technology and like, you know, like all these like attempts to try and make it better. Innovation like this is iterative, it's small, it's slowly progressive towards we slowly move towards this. Meta, I think, is going too great of a leap in terms of, okay, everyone go over here, and everyone's like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, there's, first of all, you have to put something on your face. Second of all, you have to like deal with avatars. Like, you just need to look at things like, you know, movies like Wall-E to understand, like, this is a sad sort of like, yes, I mean, no doubt you can make the virtual reality better because it's virtual.
Has there been a
You can do
positive
anything
movie
you
about
want.
this yet? Like,
I know.
I don't think there has been.
I'm just, I want this to be successful, but I'm when I read the marketing and I read the literature from folks like Microsoft, like what you just described, right? I'm concerned that they're gonna it's kind of like, you know, they're holding a hand of chips, and they're holding they have all these chips, and they have, you know, all these good cards in front of them. Yeah, it's Second Life with VR glasses for sure. And they're like, oh, I have a reasonable hand. I'm like, no, you have a reasonable hand, but you don't have a great hand. Like, this is, you don't go all in on reasonable, you know, sort of thing. And
so
I understand the motivations why, but yeah.
One of the baby steps is, you know, finding a good example of how this technology can be applied in a positive way, and that is what I have for my last article to share. Now, keep in mind, this is like the first of its kind type of thing. So what I'm about to show you is not really that impressive. I think they kept the graphics at a kind of a minimum because, first of all, hardware limitations, probably budget limitations too. So, you know, I'm going to preface this by saying, like, it's not the most amazing thing you're ever going to see. The wow factor might be a little lackluster, but use your imagination a little bit and remember, like, this is like the ASCII text adventure version of something bigger that we could see in the future. This is the kind of thing that I'd like to see, though. This is a new VR. This is actually an AR experience. I don't know why it says VR. This is an AR experience in Ireland at Cork's Spike Island. Okay, so this is a historical site, and remember, graphics are going to be pretty bad here, but the idea, I think, is sound. So, you know, you go visit this fort, and there's different locations throughout the fort where you can hold your phone up with their app in it, and it will then overlay augmented reality video on top of, you know, in 3D on top of that site. The graphics are terrible. I love how it says, see some familiar faces along the way, and it's just this creepy dead looking figure.
Represent Winston Churchill. I could be wrong.
I think so too.
That is wrong if that's the case.
Yeah, I'm not up on my my Irish history here, so I'm not quite sure.
Oh,
but,
you're probably right. Yeah.
The graphics are pretty bad, so I wouldn't be able to tell hardly. Anyway, but I'd love to see something like this. Yeah, this kid's probably scared to death. I'd love to see something like this with actual really good renderings done and a really good headset like a HoloLens.
Why?
Where you go to
why not just go like this, like everyone else was in the video? Just look, it's right there. You're holding the phone. You know what I mean?
Phones,
like,
I mean, the phone's capabilities are a little bit limited. And they usually
we have an imagination, you know, like we get it. Like, okay, I know he's not there, you know.
Yeah. So. They're pretty poor in regards to spatial recognition too. So, you know, if you could put something like that in the HoloLens and run it with like realistic looking graphics and go to a physical historical location and be on site and see things in context of, you know, that site and what they used to look like, I think that would be absolutely phenomenal. I think that's a really good learning experience for people to be able to see things at scale in real time in front of them. And putting a headset on is a much different experience than holding something in front of your face and looking through it. I mean, it feels more tangible when you've got something that you're not holding up in front of you, and it's actually it feels more natural to look up and down at things rather than try to like viewfinder it through your camera. Like it's like those.
I agree. It's a better
What
experience.
those little red things that used to flip in front of your face when you were a kid?
Sure.
I
agree. It's a better experience. Okay. I'll give you that. However, you're asking me to now take this reasonably heavy object along with everything else to this island. I'll get on a boat. Everyone's got a suitcase because they have to take their VR headset with them.
So you're thinking of today's context and tomorrow's technology. So
if
people do this really poorly.
Like this, if the VR headset looks like this, I'm in. Okay.
See, now you're talking.
Like this is the yes, I understand that, but we're so far from doing this. This is not a reality for a very, very, very long time, and it's not because of software. It's because of hardware, and it's because of batteries, and it's because of miniaturization, and we are so far from there. Yes, of course. If it's like this, I'm like, yeah. I'm in. But that's not the reality. The reality, it's more like this. It's like
if we're talking about museums too, like this isn't as far-fetched for a museum where they could have things on hand. You don't have to carry your personal device with you. You might get these issued to you when you walk in, type of a thing. That thing can be specialized a little bit more there.
If they're like this, because I wear these. If I wear these today, if they're like this, I'm in. I'll switch. I'll change. I'll be the biggest advocate on the planet. Believe me. But they're not like this.
I've been on tours with good audio tours.
Yes.
They fundamentally change the experience that you have when you were at the 100%. Place. 100%. One of these is the tour at Alcatraz. They have a phenomenal audio tour. And the thing that makes it more interesting, it's not just some narrator just yammering on in your ear about things that happened as you walk by them. They actually put like ambience in there. So when you walk by certain things, it sounds like the jail is still active. You hear people whispering in the corner. It's very cool. And it doesn't have nearly the capabilities of something like an AR experience where if you have a full AR experience, you have audio and video. So, you might hear something next to you and you have spatial audio, so you can actually turn and see, maybe a figure standing next to you. That's a whole other world. I think it'd be really cool to go to a place like Alcatraz or Pearl Harbor, or somewhere in Europe where one of the great battles was fought in one of the many wars over there, and just see things in real time would be just fantastic. So
the innovation here to make this a thing is in the hardware, not the software. The software is not the problem here. It's all about the hardware. That's the first problem. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's actually there was one that Microsoft did with the HoloLens too. That was at one of the space exhibits in San Francisco. We got to try that out at Build one year. That was pretty interesting, but it was more of a VR thing and then it was an AR thing.
Right.
You get to like kind of walk around Mars, and you were guided by Lance Armstrong or whoever it was. Sure. Pretty good stuff there. I think the AR stuff could just be pretty mind-blowing, though, to be able to go back and like see buildings that no longer exist and things like that. I think it'd be really cool. So we'll get there, I think. But calling it all Metaverse is a little weird. Well, I mean, you just saw right now, even with poor graphics, it's there. It's starting. Like there is at least one museum with its very, very creepy renderings of historical figures you may or may not recognize because they're so poorly rendered.
I want to make this clear to folks watching this years from now. I'm happy to be proven wrong. This is not a hill I'm willing to die. I'm not going to die on this hill. I'm just saying that when you read the literature about how this is going to change the world, I'm like, eventually, when they're like this, yes, not right now though. They are these are big devices that you get sweaty, and they're charged for an hour, and I have to lug these around to, like, tourist sites, etc., etc. Yeah, of course. Yeah, once we get it, I'm in. But until then,
you know what the great irony here is going to be, John? Like the real great irony here is when my grandkids put on their VR or AR glasses and they see the hologram of John Bristowe crapping on the future.
Sure.
They get to see
horses. What are you talking about? Yeah, exactly. I know what I sound like. I'm just saying but the problem is there are realities to hardware that are really, really, really hard to solve, and capacitors and battery life are two. We need like a Manhattan Project in storage and in capacitors and in insulators to really enable these sort of hardware revolutions. And it's like we need that level of innovation to happen in order for this stuff to become a reality. Until then, we're going to be with these big clunky devices. So sure.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be coming back to the show just to to revel in the prophecies of Bristowe.
I know. I realized, hello, folks from 2021-05 or whatever. I hope the weather's fine. I hope you're not, sweltering or anything like. I hope we did something to help fix the situation we're in. I hope we fixed real problems as opposed to these, other problems. And I hope that your VR headsets look like this.
At the rate we're going,
Flames won the Stanley Cup. That's the other hope thing I have.
At the rate we're going, VR headsets in the future will have those two holders for your 2 cans of beer at the top.
Oh, I hope so. That I'll wear. I'll definitely wear that. Yeah, with the 2
That's the trajectory we're on, my friend.
The shirt that says "I'm with stupid." Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
The date. I love that somebody actually put the date and actual numbers that you said out loud. That was a definite, realistic, futuristic date you gave there, John.
Oh, of course. I'm thinking Rick and Morty here. I'm thinking like hundreds of years, hundreds of thousands of years into the future. Yeah.
In Universe C 137A. That's not a hex. That's a hex. No, that's not hexadecimal. Sorry, that's a different binary format. All right. I think that signals the end of the show. Everybody.
Yes. Sorry. I'll stop. Yeah. Sorry.
This should be a Friday show, really. This is more Friday. I mean, Hump Day's good. We'll use Hump Day. That's fine. We need to get through this week somehow, don't we?
Yeah.
Thank you for
check out the stuff that we showed.
Yeah,
that's right.
So all good stuff. We've got more shows coming this week. We had a special Eat Sleep Code yesterday interview show. I interviewed Mohammed Osman. He's talking about how to get yourself Azure certified in many different Azure certifications, how to get some of those things for free. I will be posting that on SoundCloud next week, and you can catch the replay of that on YouTube if that's something that you're interested in. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you soon.